You know, somebody mentioned the establishment is more friendly to Warren. This is now the second to third story I've seen in 2 weeks that Wall Street is warming up to Elizabeth Warren, and they used to call Elizabeth Warren like Lucifer.
Right. And I don't think that Wall Street would be happy
Well,
with a Warren presidency, and I think that may be an underestimation on their part. But I think that they are so afraid of Bernie Sanders that they will take anybody. And if it looks like she can, sap support away from him and then lose to one of their preferred candidates, and I think that would be the...
I totally disagree with you, and I'll explain why. I just want to read a few lines of this. This is from Fortune. There's a new whisper on Wall Street. Maybe Elizabeth Warren isn't so bad. The Democratic senator who rose to national prominence by calling for tough regulation after the financial crisis is winning respect from a small but growing circle of senior bankers and hedge fund managers. Oh boy. As the presidential candidate from Massachusetts takes aim at the rich and powerful with a slew of tax-raising policy proposals, some financial types who fit the description say she's proven capable and makes some good points. Quote, if she ends up being the nominee, I have no trouble supporting her at all, said David Shamus, Chief Investment Officer of Atlas Merchant Capital, where he's a founder and partner alongside former Barclays PC head Bob Diamond. While Warren isn't Shami's top choice, he said, I think she's smart, hardworking, responsible, and thoughtful, and I think thinks markets are important. So
that's it.
I've heard variations of this comment, and Politico had a story on this a couple weeks ago that the establishment is willing to compromise on Elizabeth Warren. Let me tell you what I think is going on, and I'd like your thoughts. Wall Street and special interests are very good at understanding people that will work within the system. And what work within the system actually means is work with the donors. I don't think Elizabeth Warren is corrupt. I don't think she's Hillary Clinton. But she's already said some things and done some things that signal she is not as viscerally anti-money in politics as Bernie Sanders is. You either believe to your core that money is poisoning our democracy because we don't have one anymore, maybe we never did, or you don't. If you believe to your core that money is the root of all evil and we cannot suffocate the political system with it, then you don't say things like, well, I'm open for business during the general, and yada, yada, yada. I think that Wall Street is placing their bets fair. They don't want Elizabeth Warren. They definitely, I think their first choice is Kamala Harris, then Biden, then Pete, and so on. But what I think is going on is they know they've already seen, well, she was reaching out to Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2015 to take meetings and make a deal there. She sat out on Bernie versus Hillary. She's done a lot of things that are politically calculating. So Wall Street is seeing a signal, not that they respect that she believes in markets, they're seeing a signal. Warren, she has a tough bite, but she'll water things down. She's not gonna,
We'll have more of a seat at the table with the Warren administration than the Sanders administration.
I think you're underscoring it. I think it's not just a seat. I think they think she's not gonna fight as hard for the things she's proposing, and she'll make deals.
Well, right. She's
AKA water things down.
She's more open to. And look, I don't know, and I mean we don't.
It's all speculation.
Yeah, right. It's all speculation. We don't know. That could be. It could also be that it's a big miscalculation, and Warren and Sanders, no matter which one prevails, or if that they're still going to be. I mean, I think that if Warren were the president, I don't think that Sanders wouldn't have a consulting role to play. Like I just don't believe that. But I did want to address this money in politics point because it's something that we throw around all the time. Everybody talks about the influence of money in politics and it's corrosive and whatnot. And I just wish that we would talk about it, with a little more like nuance. Perhaps is the wrong word, but nuance is the word I'm going to go with. The fact that, like, on the one hand, you're spending money to elevate this platform, which could be political spending.
What do you mean?
I mean, the money that you're spending to amplify this platform, this could constitute outside political spending. You're a media company, but at the same time, you get into the politics. Like, there should be caps on what. I mean, I think media companies should be excluded, but like,
I don't get what you mean.
The
Spending money for.
I mean that when you advertise your program, like, we don't want a regimen that would crack down on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so money in politics is bad, and it's bad when it influences, politicians, and it's bad that people can spend unlimited sums of money. But it is a complicated issue to regulate, and I think that Warren's approach, I don't think she's anti-regulating money in politics. I don't believe that. I think that the big point here that we're making is that Warren may be more open and less dogmatic in these fights than Sanders, and that's a very real concern. But at the end of the day, I do worry that some of the rhetoric getting thrown around about Warren is that she is, just a puppet, that she's, and that hasn't really been her career trajectory. It hasn't. And I think that that's important to say. Anyway, but
where I disagree with you is, I think why I am so, I don't hide. I personally support Bernie. I think I've made clear I don't screw with facts to support Bernie. I would never intentionally not report something if it was bad against him. I just report based on facts. But unlike
a journalist.
Yeah, unlike CNN and MSNBC, don't pretend to be unbiased. I am biased. I like Bernie personally. I like his policies, and also my worldview, being a progressive, informs the stories I cover and where we go in the field. With that said, to me, I think at the end of the day, you either understand that capitalism itself is evil and cannot be regulated because it is an evil system. That is my opinion. It has done an incredible amount of damage, basically since the 1970s, which, by the way, it's not as complicated as you think to regulate money in politics, because it once was.
Well, you put caps on it.
Right, but
you do run into First Amendment issues when you get to.
Right, but my point is, we didn't have this runaway train before the mid 1970s. But that was
when we started trying to regulate it. Then you had the court case.
No, we already had strong regulations in place with PACs and lobbying and all those things. It started to unravel.
You didn't have limits on how much people could spend on outside spending. And,
right.
And once you got that, you got a Supreme Court case that overturned that, and then you had the rich people were like, "Oh, floodgates are open."
Well, I think there's two separate topics, and I'm seeing this comment a lot from our viewers. But I think there's two separate things. Number one, what do we think the media's motivations here is? Because they have been propping up Warren. There's no doubt about that.
Of course,
and,
but that's that. I mean, that was to be expected.
And number two, Warren, I have said personally, and a lot of you might not like it. You've expressed it. I personally would vote for her. I don't tell you who to vote for. Vote for whoever you want. But I'd vote for her because I don't think we should be so extreme and say, oh, she's just she's not Hillary Clinton, she's not Kamala Harris, she's not Joe Biden. She would be way more progressive, at least economically. I think she's a disaster at foreign policy.
Let's not get into that. Her foreign policy is a mess.
On economic issues, but we don't even need to get into it because I really don't think she's going to be the nominee. With that said, I do think the corporate media is trying to prop her up to try and diminish and eventually knock Bernie out. And if they do that, I think they're going to turn on her lickety-split. That it's divide and conquer, basically. The other thing is, to me, the biggest thing about Elizabeth Warren is, I don't care what candidates say during campaigns. I really don't. I don't care what her proposals are during the campaign. I care what her record is and what her history is, because that's how you know if they're actually going to stand by the things they're proposing. When Hillary Clinton started, proposing a little bit more liberal, progressive things in the campaign, I didn't even bother reading it because I knew she and Mitt Romney used to go to the beach with their flip-flops, that level of flip-floppery. So I don't really care what Elizabeth, she has good plans, a lot of them are fine, but what is her history? Well, her history is this. When she came into the Senate, she was a firecracker, she was a firebrand. I remember the speech that went viral. You didn't get rich on your own. Your goods went to market on the streets. She was very, very progressive. But as she went, she started showing more political calculation. To me,
she worked with the Obama administration, which didn't hold anybody accountable. Right.
And by the way, I don't think compromise is a dirty word. If Bernie Sanders became president, I got news for you folks. He's going to have to compromise. The difference is, Do you compromise 75% of what you want right out of the gate, like Obama did? Or do you say do you start with the most progressive proposal? You stand by your convictions. You enlist your political army. Bernie has a political army. Elizabeth Warren does not. She just doesn't. Bernie Sanders, and this is where Obama failed also, Obama had a political army, Organizing for America.
He had the largest grassroots movement in history, and he did nothing with it. In fact, he left them at the door. He's like, okay, now I'm in. All right, see you guys later.
So I think, to me, listen, would Warren as president be Hillary Clinton as president? No. But my point is, I don't trust Elizabeth Warren the same way I do Bernie Sanders to fight for what she's talking about. I also think, frankly, she has a more, because she was at Harvard, she has a more academic view of markets and the economy and this and that. And I think in some cases it's a little naive. Because at the end of the day, you're up against the most greedy, powerful forces on planet Earth, and that is the American oligarchy. They don't want their markets regulated at all, and they will fight to the deaths. And you see it in your life. So I think she's.
I don't see her taking on her own party. That's where
the problem,
where it really what it comes down to for me. When I look at these two candidates side by side, and I'm like, which one? It's not that, as I was saying, I don't think that Warren is like a puppet or anything, but I do look at her and I think that she is somebody that doesn't really challenge. She's not really willing and hasn't shown a willingness to buck her own party when it comes to fighting for what she wants. And that's a problem because, as somebody said, she was absent on the Dakota Access Pipeline. She was absent in 2016. She had a candidate that was running that was closely aligned with everything that she'd, been talking about for years. She didn't endorse him. I think that her political calculus leans towards timidity, and I think that that's problematic. I do think that she has some idea of how to craft legislation. I don't think that that's really a problem, but it, getting to the timidity thing, her college debt forgiveness plan caps at $50,000. I was fortunate enough to not have college debt. I have law school debt, but I didn't have college debt. But had I had college debt, 1 year of my college was that. It would have capped at that, and like, and that's not, and that's for a lot of people. A lot of schools have tuition costs that exceed the cap for her forgiveness plan. So like, right. There's a limitation, I think, to her vision that is very troubling. But I do think that she would fight like hell for higher taxes on the wealthy. I do think that she would, regulate the hell out of derivatives and gambling on Wall Street. I think that she's got a good sense there.
I think there's a difference between she'll try and she will. She's not going to fight the corporate Democratic Party, who's not going to suddenly be. They're still going to be in the tank for Wall Street. Bernie Sanders will. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.